jump in to this matchup between Salvatto and Nelson Rakdos Arcanist versus Sultai Midrange. Now, you were telling me, Corey, that Brad is not super keen on this matchup. This is something he didn't want to play. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I was kind of confused at this as well, because I am really torn, because Rakdos Arcanist is my favorite deck and the deck I would have played, and I lose to Sultai all the time. I think it was my worst matchup, but Brad cut just enough hate cards to make room for other matchups that he thought this was going to be one of the rough ones, along with Azorius Auras he was really afraid of as well. So I think that's just my brother, trying to be a little self-deprecating here and just say it's a bad matchup and then hopefully win, but we will see.
Well, we shall see indeed, as he's sending one card back to the bottom of the library, has Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, and Extinction Event in hand, ready to rock and roll. Luis just taking a few more looks at his hand as we get things underway here with Breeding Pool. Now, Corey, there was a cool little tidbit about these two opponents here, these two players. What was that again?
Yeah, probably the coolest stat I have ever heard. Both of these players are the only players to become Player of the Years, but have to earn it the hard way, where they tied with another person in total pro points by the end of the year, and then had to play off to see who could be named the Player of the Year. I was lucky enough to be at both of the locations to watch both of them win their Player of the Year races, and it was quite special.
Oh, that's awesome. What a cool connection there between these two players. As Stitcher Supplier gets down on the battlefield, mills 3, and gets in for 1 point of damage, followed up by Young Pyromancer.
Yep, Brad Nelson defeated Guillaume Matignon a long time ago at Pro Tour Paris, where Cobblade became known, and Luis Salvatto beat Seth Manfield in his playoff. So really cool stuff there.
Very cool indeed. What's even cooler here for Brad Nelson is that he's got Uro in hand with a bunch of lands to get down, so the ramp battle is on. Now, you were saying that you always tend to lose to the Sultai deck, and I kind of agree with you. Every time I'm playing something just mildly aggressive, it's always, oh, hi Sultai, oh, hi Nissa, Uro, and Ugin, if there's one in the list. Not in Brad's case this time around, but it's just so many value cards, right? It's just such good stuff in one neat little Sultai package.
Agreed. And here is like the really tough part. I mean, Brad is losing his Extinction Event here, but the one thing you'll notice about Salvatto's deck is every creature that matters is even. All the ones that are facilitators, like Stitcher Supplier and stuff, are the odd, the one drops here. So really the only creatures that matter are even. So Extinction Event gets to be that full kind of Wrath of God effect, where it normally wouldn't be in other situations.
Well, Salvatto is just making merry with Brad Nelson's hand here, just attacking the resources like Mani alluded to before this matchup. And just left now with an Ether Gust and an Essence Scatter is Brad Nelson. So gonna hopefully find a target with one of those two things.
Yeah, and not the worst here, because I believe I saw 3 cards in graveyard, maybe 4, which will be enough to Aether Gust something, hopefully get an Essence Scatter trigger, and then bring back Uro. There is Claim the Firstborns to deal with Uros pretty cleanly, but as we see right now, Luis Salvatto does not have one of those handy sack outlets, so it would just be given right back to Brad.
Yeah. The Young Pyromancer gonna get gusted to the top of the library or to the bottom, depending on where Salvatto wants to put it. We'll have an answer to it if it does make a reappearance with Essence Scatter, which Salvatto's aware of. So do you think he's just gonna try and see what's next on the library, or in the library, or is he just gonna hang on to that? And what's the best plan there?
Yeah, I think just because he has enough mana to Village Right plus play the Young Pyromancer, I think you just pressure him here, but I guess it does run right into that Essence Scatter. So maybe a small misstep there, because if that's the card that puts Brad up to 6 cards in graveyard with that Fabled Passage, then I think that is a misstep. But if it's not, you got to cast creatures eventually here.
Yeah.
So Salvatto is kind of clearing the way for this escaped Croaxa to come to the battlefield next turn.
Croaxa? What is that?
Croxa, sorry. My bad.
No, it's totally fine. Everyone says things differently. Some people say Ugin, some people say Eugene,
Yes, that's the first card I've ever mispronounced ever in my career, so.
Okay, it's all right. We'll give you that one. You get one free pass.
Nice, nice.
All right, well, like you mentioned, we do have enough cards in the graveyard for Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Here it comes, exiling the 5 other cards in there. And it's going to get to hang out, but maybe not for long, as we do have Spark Harvest to deal with Uro once it's escaped.
Yeah, that was a huge pickup for Salvatto. And I mean, we've seen this time and time again, dealing with Uro with just regular removal that just puts it right back into the graveyard. That is only a bit of a band-aid because these Sultai decks kind of churn through their library and add cards to their graveyard so quickly that I wouldn't be shocked if, Brad takes a turn or two off for playing an Uro, but maybe on that third turn, gets it right back out there.
Well, I see your Titan and I'll match you mine, says Luis Salvatto as Koroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, or whatever the heck his title is. Oh, that is Titan of Death's Hunger. I forgot there for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, is that? Yes, it is that. He's going to discard that Zagoth Trio, which Brad did have the option to play, or to play that turn, but wanted to keep it for perhaps cycling. Alas, not going to happen, as Spark Harvest sacrifices that little creature and gets rid of Uro once again.
Yeah, and you see a head shake from my brother there. It is not... he doesn't normally show too much when he's playing, but being at home, you saw visible frustration from that sequence there. Knowing that there's not many ways to actually kill Uro, it looks like we have 2 Bedevil, 2 Spark Harvest, so drawing one of those off Village Right felt pretty bad.
Yeah. So Luis just got off to such a very good start there. Attacked the resources of Brad, was able to leave him handless, and every single time Koroxa enters the battlefield or attacks, it's 3 extra damage if you don't have a non-land card to exile. To discard. So just had the advantage from the get-go and really played to just obliterated Brad pretty much.
Yeah, I want to point out 2 things there from Brad. First, I don't know many people that look at that side view there when you're sideboarding, and his deck still said imported deck. Come on, bro. Come on. Put a title on that one.
Yeah, you have to name it. It gives it that little bit of extra luck, right?
Yes. Okay, so look at this right here. Brad's going to know right when he submits the deck what tricks Salvatto is up to. But this is the one thing that I love so much from the Argentinians list. They kind of juke here in a lot of the matchups by bringing in Hazoret the Fervent, the very powerful mono red god, instead of something like Pack Rats that we've seen before, as another way to present a kill condition when there is a cage or there is a ley line or a rest in peace. It's another way to finish the game quickly. Yeah. And I tried this tech and I loved it. It won me quite a few matches.
Yeah. I have to take Lurrus out of the companion slot, put it into the main deck, but that's all right. You don't mind doing that. Lurrus is kind of like the cherry on top for this deck. Once you get Arcanist down and a few of those key spells and Claim to Fame, Claim the Firstborn, that sort of thing, like the deck really can go by itself. It doesn't need Lurrus, but Lurrus does just, add that little bit of extra push to get you over the finish line.
Exactly. The amount of times I actually put Lurrus into play were pretty small, but Arcanist was always the card that is just unbelievable.
This is brutal. Duress. Turn 1, takes a look, sees the Grafdigger's Cage, immediately yoinked into the graveyard as a Growth Spiral gets to hang out and still gets to ramp. So let's not, say, oh, it's over, there's no Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage is not super important in a lot of these matchups. Nissa, who shakes the world, that card does the work.
Yeah, and what a phenomenal hand from Salvatto here. You have 3 cards you want to take. Thoughtseize takes your Nissa, which is your best card at defending against the creatures, but then both creatures are super threatening right now. And the more you Thoughtseize your opponent with a Hazoret, the more consistently you're being attacked for 5 on turn 4. If you don't take it, of course. Yeah.
What do you take here? What do you think is going through Brad's mind?
I think you have to take Arcanist, because here's the thing. We already saw a Duress. We're going to see a Thoughtseize as well next turn. And then that Arcanist, every time it attacks, it's taking another card. So while, that Thoughtseize next turn into Hazoret a couple of turns later is pretty scary still, I just don't think you can beat that Arcanist. Now, another route you take is Hazoret and just say, hey, that card is very, very hard for me to beat, and you just hope you draw like an Eliminate or something. But that's a little risky. So I like this play.
Yeah, I like taking the Arcanist too, because sure, you can get rid of Thoughtseize, but like you said, it's just going to come back again next turn once the Arcanist starts swinging. So now we will see either Nissa or the Hydroid Krasis get put into the bin here. It's going to be Nissa who shakes the world. And Overgrown Tomb drawn off the top. We can make it 2-2 here if we want to, but Brad Nelson's probably hoping to find another Nissa off the top of the library and get that out on turn 5.
Yeah, it's tough here. Some part of me wants to just go Overgrown Tomb, tap, and then cycle the Triome, and then hope to maybe get a 4/4 Krasis later. But yeah, right now, Salvatto is doing exactly what Rakdos Arcanist wants to be doing. Yeah, another Thoughtseize.
Oh, that's so gross.
And that's just ripping apart your opponent's hand until...
Oh! Dodged it! Dodged a bullet there! Salvatto draws another Thoughtseize off the top of the library, but doesn't get this Nissa off the top. Here we go. 3 points of damage in, down to 11. Now it's going to be a good old battle here between Nissa Lands and Hazoret the Fervent.
A battle that we have never seen. They both dominated Standard in their respective times, but never together. So this is going to be an interesting fight.
Right now, drawing another land off the top of the library. They would love to find some action instead of just a land. But can defend here against Hazoret, so long as we do keep drawing these lands. So, you know, he's not going to be too sad about that.
And here it's interesting because sometimes you want to hold a land just in case Salvatto drew another Duress or Thoughtseize. But if Salvatto has a Kroxa, then all of a sudden now you played this land for no reason, or you held this land for no reason. Yeah. And then if you draw a Krasis later, you feel pretty bad. So I think I lean on playing these lands and just not bluffing it here. But we'll see if Brad wants to get a little froggy.
Yeah, Hazoret, as scary as it is, can't do anything right now until there is 1 or less cards in hand there for Salvatto. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Hazoret can't block either, huh? That's right. Yeah.
Just kind of sitting there looking intimidating, but young Pyromancer joins the fray, able to attack and block. They're going to need to do that, though, as he is at 5. Drawing another land off the top of the library, not what we want to see, but inevitability is looking very much in Brad Nelson's court right now, as he's just going to be able to keep adding 3/3s to this battlefield, and Luis has to find an instant or sorcery for young Pyromancer to create those little tokens.
Yeah, something right here that would just be devastating for Brad is like Bedevil. Bedevil to hit Nissa before the ultimate can go down is just insanely bad here. And now it's interesting. Brad can throw away one of these 3/3 lands to Hazoret and force a chump block from Pyromancer. Yeah, and that's interesting. But if Salvatto were to have any instant speed removal here, it's just devastating. But I think Brad smelled it out that he didn't.
Yeah.
But decides not to go for it.
Oof, just playing it safe. Dragon Skull Summon off the top there for Salvatto, and this is going to be it. If Brad Nelson decides to, I would say turn these lands sideways, but, you know, they're vigilant, so that's not going to happen. Growth Spiral, first and foremost. This is the first spell he's found, and finds more land. Yay! You like land? I like land.
Oh, Brad is being a landlord right now, that's for sure. And now here's the one thing that's interesting with Salvatto's board is normally you would just want a castle here, but Salvatto cannot risk during his main phase drawing another land and not allowing Hazoret to even block. So we're probably going to see, in fact, we will for sure see if all the creatures come in that Salvatto's going to have to activate castle, go to 3, and hope to draw a 2-mana removal spell.
Don't forget that Hazoret can also discard a card in hand to deal 2 damage.
True,
so we can mitigate the damage that we take.
True, but does not have enough mana to castle plus Hazoret. That would be a total of 7. Brad just goes to ultimate, though.
Okay, sure. Indestructible Vigilant Lands. Do your worst.
Yes.
Nice.
All right, and yeah, not even activating castle. Yeah, what can Salvatto draw from this position now? I don't think they're...
Oh, Kroxas.
Yeah, that's not going to do it.
That's not going to be useful enough here, unfortunately, as we do have 3 attackers. We can escape Kroxa, I believe, but even then, 3 attackers, 2 blockers. The math checks out, and we're going to go to game number 3.
One thing I do love there from Salvatto, and it's a minor detail, but playing Kroxa, even though he knew he was dead, to get that little bit of extra information, let's say he discards a very strong sideboard card, then Salvatto has a little bit more information that that card is now in Brad's deck. All right, so Brad's bringing in the cages, of course, that's no surprise. Trims an Uro on the draw. That's interesting. And yeah, Brad is a part of this group that is just playing the 4 Aether Gust in the main. And something that maybe we didn't see with Andrea Mangucci's list, where it didn't play a single copy, Javier, Brad, Seth, they all really valued the power of Aether Gust and just decided to play all 4. And it really does still hit all the very important cards from from Rakdos Arcanist deck.
Oh yeah, it's such a metagame call, you know, expecting to see over a third of the field being goblins, or at least a red-based deck. If it's not the Rakdos Arcanist deck with the Pyromancers, it's going to be Muxus, Goblin Grandee. No burn that I could see in the 160 deck list. So no one was believing in the bolts in this.
I guess not. I guess not. I guess the mono red deck of choice was just goblins. But yeah, I mean, even if we look at the metagame prediction here, you know, we have goblins up top, then Sultai, then Jund Sacrifice. Like right there, that's already 50-60% of metagame. And Aether Gust is great against all of them. You have to go down to like mono black Gift, where it's like an unplayable card, you know?
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
Or the Abs Analyst from Corey Burkhardt, but you know, a lot of red, as you could see in the metagame breakdown. It was all of the mountains were the mountains were the most played card this weekend.
Yep.
All right, 16 seconds on the sideboard clock. Let's get into this. Game number 3, Luis Salvatto versus Brad Nelson. All right, let's hear it. Who do you think's going to win this one, Corey?
God. I have to say Brad Nelson, you know, because he is my brother here. But I do not think he is advantaged on the draw in this situation. But we'll see. I'm still going bro, but I think it is going to be close.
All right, well, I'm hoping to see the Rakdos Arcanist list win it here, because it is such a cool deck to play, and it just uses its resources, uses the graveyard so well. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen super much here with this Grafdigger's Cage down on the battlefield at the moment, and the Heartless Act to get rid of one of the stickier threats in the Young Pyromancer and the tokens that it can generate.
Yep, I mean, we got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up soon, so I got to make sure our family gatherings are good, so gotta go for bro on this.
It's fine, I totally understand it.
Oh, that's what Salvatto needed with lands off the top there, that's for sure.
Found a bunch of lands, able to mill a bunch more cards. Needs to find an Abrade or something, though, to get this Grafdigger's Cage off of the battlefield.
Yep, well, we got the Bedevil. So that is a problem. Yep. So yeah, what Salvatto is going to be looking to do is just bedeviling and then getting these claims on the Arcanists and then start bringing stuff back again, but decides to just say, hey, Hazoret's here.
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's just get that down on the battlefield. We do have Aether Gust in hand there for Brad Nelson, so you can send that back to the top of the library. Or just back to the library.
With how everything is going to play out, if Salvatto had perfect information there, I think he would have snap bedeviled the cage, because now we're going to see Gust be able to really mess with it, where it wouldn't be the case. And the interesting thing here is if Salvatto wants to actually attack, Claim is uncastable when Cage is there, which is very, very brutal when you have Hazoret. This happened to me multiple times where you can't even just target it to get it out of your hand. It has to stay in your hand. So right now, if this Cage stays on the battlefield, then Hazoret is not attacking.
Aether Gust threatening to send this Bedevil away. It's a temporary solution to this problem. Not having any counter spells or anything like that to prevent it. So Brad Nelson can keep this at bay for another turn or two. But we'll have to either find a secondary Grafdigger's Cage to keep this graveyard from coming into play, or he's going to have a bit of a problem here with this battlefield.
But here's the really rough thing for Salvatto, is you're Aether Gusting these Bedevils, so Salvatto is not drawing a card, right? But now Brad is getting to still draw for his draw step, plus he's getting to use these growth spirals. So for 2 turns in a row, Aether Gust is going to prevent Salvatto from drawing a card, not attacking with Hazoret, and Brad is going to continue to draw, 2 cards a turn to Salvatto's 0. So this is actually looking quite good for Brad. He's going to need a little help eventually here, but got to give advantage to Brad Nelson here.
Yeah, finding the lands that he needed as well, just to push that advantage a little bit with Growth Spiral. Drawing the cards. Does have the Hydroid Crisis that he could get down as needs be, but knows that that Bedevil's on top of the library, so Aether Gust is going to be the priority here.
Exactly, and we do see, Grafdigger's Cage being so good against these Rakdos decks, but it's pretty good against his own deck as well. He's not bringing back Uro with that Cage in play. No.
Uro's just hanging out, taking a break, having a breather. It's been like, I've put in the work. You can do the rest, Brad.
Exactly. But I mean, that is a nice little insurance policy, and it's kind of interesting to bring in a card that directly hurts your best card. But it's an insurance policy where if Salvatto does deal with it, be like, okay, you may have unlocked your spells, but you unlocked Uro of Titan's Wrath, so.
It's like, oh, okay, sure, fine. You can kill that cage, but here's Uro.
Okay, so we're gonna just see another little Aether Gust on that Bedevil, I would imagine. And now it'll be interesting where you put it, because at this point it's just starting to feel very frustrating. Be like, I'm not drawing cards, but you are. This is not cool.
I think Salvatto will stick with it. I think he's gonna try and get this thing dead.
I think you have to. Because here's the thing. Once you Bedevil this cage, the next turn you can go claim on Dreadhorde Arcanist, fame it, and then Bedevil something again. So you kind of get another Bedevil in the holster, essentially.
Yeah,
a really cute
Nissa
combo. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then you could start claiming the lands and stuff. So unlocking this cage from, or unlocking your graveyard with cage going to the graveyard is huge.
Yeah.
I wonder
what's going through Brad's mind?
Yeah, I want to say he's just posturing a little bit here to think that he really needs this Aether Dust. But of course, what's going through his brain right now is to hit Hazoret or to hit this Bedevil. And for us, it's really easy, right? We see his hand is stranded without this Bedevil. But I mean, if he just had another land into, Young Pyromancer or something, for instance, and Hazoret is starting to go to town, then that is a very, very scary clock.
Yes, indeed. Hazoret is a bit of a scary 5/4, indestructible. Can also ping you if you get a few cards in hand that you don't need. But, did that go to the bottom?
It went to the bottom.
Okay, alright, but now we can attack. Ooh. We claimed.
Okay, I guess I'm wrong on that. I 100% thought if Cage was in play, you couldn't claim, but I'm thinking Leyline or Rest in Peace, of course. But yeah, you can target, they just do not work.
Yeah, that just doesn't come back. It just hits a brick wall. No worries.
Yeah.
But now we do have a clock here, as you mentioned, Luis Salvatto putting the pressure down, deciding, all right, you know what? It's fine. I don't need that cage. I'm just going to start smacking you. And if we get a Nissa land here, we have lethal. Because we can just claim that and just be like, cool, you're dead. Thanks so much for coming.
No, bro!
Sorry, Corey. Unfortunately, that's not going to be Brad's day. If he shocks us in and makes a baby crisis, sure, cool. But we're going to see a claim here. Claiming the firstborn. You can see the hand in the head, or the head in the hand, and claim the firstborn on this island is going to be lethal for Luis Salvatto.
I think Brad's really kicking himself because he did have one option to play that breeding pool, take 2, just make it 2/2 crisis, and then he has another blocker here, but instead, he's done. So maybe a small misstep on Brad's part there.
Yeah, I'd say so. You can see disappointment for Brad Nelson, but absolute elation for Luis Salvatto as he goes to 5-0.
Impressive work by Salvatto. Another good friend of mine, so it's hard to be too bummed here because Salvatto is just an incredibly nice person and a very good player.